Welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners to maximize business value so they can transition their business on their terms. Our mission was born from the lessons we've learned from over 100 business transactions, which fuels our desire to share our experiences and wisdom so you can succeed. Now here's your host, CEO of Mastery Partners, Tom Bronson.
Hi, this is Tom Bronson, and welcome to Maximize Business Value, a podcast for business owners who are passionate about building long-term sustainable value in your business. This podcast is part of our series with speakers from the upcoming Business Transitions Summit. The BTS, as we call it, is our event on May 2nd this year, and it's for business owners to learn how to maximize the value of their business and to begin preparing for that ideal transition. It's never too early to start thinking about what your transition strategy is going to be, and this will be a great place for you to come and learn from some really great folks in the industry and understand what your options are and how to move forward. Registration is now open at businesstransitionssummit.com. More about that at the end. In this episode, I'd like to welcome our guest, Joe English. Now, he's one of the partners at 360 Consulting. Joe will be modern. In addition, he was on, you heard him last week. He was on with Chris talking about the sales growth, grow or sell session. But this session is really all about exit strategy options. What options does a business owner have when he's thinking about exiting his or her business? So welcome to Maximize Business Value, Joe.
Well, thanks for having me, Tom.
Of course. It's good to see you. I feel like I'm looking into a mirror. except not enough facial hair.
Yeah, I'm too patchy there, but otherwise we're simpatico.
Exactly. Now, tell us a little bit about your business. You're a partner at 360 and sales acceleration is what you guys do, but tell us a little bit about what you guys do there.
Yeah, so high level 360 Consulting is all about helping SMBs grow. And for us, we focus on either building or tuning companies' sales engine. So we're in that sales lane, thinking about the growth of an organization and how do we accelerate that. So our goal is to meet clients where they are, but most often we dig into kind of four major areas of a business, the key components, the pillars that enable an effective fast-moving sales engine, and that's your go-to-market strategy and all that entails, your people, and that's not just bodies, but roles, responsibilities, everything around it, compensation, onboarding, training, recruiting, developing, the sales process, and we think about it more than just your pipeline flow. It's your lead generation process to your deal flow, and then your account management after the fact, because you want to land and expand. And then the execution component, which is really how do you get the flywheel effect in your sales engine and accelerate growth over time. So that's kind of in a nutshell where we focus our consulting practice.
So important for every business owner. I've said it over and over, and we said it last week, but a growing business is always more valuable than a flat or declining business.
100%.
Putting a great sales strategy in place is so important. So your session that we're going to talk about today is what type of exit is right for your business. That's the session you're doing at the Business Summit. So tell us a little bit about your session.
Sure. So I have the great privilege of moderating a panel of super smart people. So I get to look smart by asking them questions. So I love that. So I don't actually have to have the answers.
That's my secret. You just stumbled on my secret.
Yeah, this podcast thing's great. So but no, what we're going to discuss is options available to business owners and what kind of considerations an owner should be thinking about when that time comes, or quite hopefully before that time comes.
Yeah, like I said at the introduction to this, it's never too early to start thinking about what your exit strategy should look like. Because if you can define it far enough in advance, then it gives you time to work on that and be prepared when the time comes. But so,
Yeah.
what will the BTS attendees expect to learn in your session?
Well, great question. Firstly, I would say that they have choices, right? The simple reality is one size does not fit all. Okay. So what those choices could be, especially given their type of business, because there's lots of small to mid-sized businesses out there, and you need to know what your options are and what might fit given your circumstances. And lastly, I think what we'll want to do is ask our panel some questions around the pros and cons of each type of exit so that people have some perspective around, especially their situation.
I think it's a common misconception among business owners that they've got one option, and that's sell or two options: sell or close the business, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of different things. And of course, you're going to have a panel of experts to talk about these. There's internal transitions, things like ESOPs and
Mhm.
selling to family, selling to your management team and a management buyout. There's
Mhm.
external, there's all kinds of different ways that you can go. And what business owners don't many times realize is that there's really probably 15 or 20 different ways that you can transition your business. And so I'm super excited about this one because once a business owner can really kind of define what's my ideal look like, then oh, that really is appealing to me, I want to sell to my employees, right? Then you can start working in the right direction to get there.
Sure.
I think that's just that's a passion of mine. It sounds like it's a passion of yours as well. Why are you so passionate about this
It
topic?
is. So Tom's it's a great transition point. I left a really good, high paying, successful corporate life to help small businesses because I just love helping and coaching people. I want to see small business owners succeed. So that's kind of why I do what I do, and to pass on some of the experience and expertise that I gained in a corporate life. But beyond the success of starting and growing a business, many owners kind of wonder, well, what's next? I mean, it's a big question for a lot of us, right? And so this summit as a whole and this session specifically are going to help answer some of those questions about what's next and maybe why, right?
Yep, that's awesome, and it's something that we should be passionate about. And I know that in fact our whole team for the summit, you and Chris, of course, who was on last week, you all sit on our board of advisors for the summit, and it's clear that you guys are passionate about helping small business owners kind of figure this stuff out.
Mhm.
So, what qualifies you to be a speaker or you're not really the speaker, but to lead the panel on this kind of topic?
Well, first, because you asked me. So that,
Either, yeah, okay, well, that's good. Yeah.
so, but seriously, because I've been through this in my career, right? So I have not experienced a triple digit number of transactions as you have. But in my corporate career, I went through a dozen M&A transactions. So public, joint venture, public spin out, so public to private. I went from small private through IPO process, doing the whole road show, looking for the investors, 4 different PE deals. I've been family office. I've been sold to a strategic buyer. So I've been through a lot of these and just had the experience of going through it. So I have some experience, and that helped me to learn a lot about it. And it honestly, I just have a perspective. And so I want to be able to share that same perspective with others.
That's awesome. And once folks come in, they'll really appreciate what you bring to the table with moderating this panel of experts. So there are 16 different concurrent sessions that you'll be competing against 3 others. 4 going on at a time. Why should a business owner plan to attend yours as opposed to the other sessions?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly
Other
honest.
than your striking good looks, right?
Well, there's that, right? I will dampen this so I don't, blind anybody, but
Makeup.
perfectly candid, because it's going to hurt my feelings if they don't come to my section. So I have a social need for acceptance. But I think, and I'm gonna go back and borrow some references from our youth, right? Inquiring minds want to know. So I think you should want to know what these choices and options are and the pros and cons of those. And I'll also steal a little something from The Price is Right in our youth, right? If you remember the game, what's behind door number X, right?
Right.
You kind of want to get the answers to the prize behind the door before you answer that question. So I think knowing some of those options and being able to pick the right door is really important. And I think you ought to come find out.
Yeah, we don't want to pick door number two and then come to find out what is behind door number two is not what I really wanted. That's a great analogy. I love that. And that's how so many business owners walk into a transaction. Well, this is the way I'm going to do it. And then suddenly you realize, oh man, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all.
Right.
That's awesome. So one last business question here. This podcast is all about maximizing business value. And since this is your first visit, not the first time somebody from 360 has been on our podcast, but this is your first visit to our podcast. What's the one most important thing that you would recommend to business owners to build value in their business?
Simple. Know your numbers.
Oh, great.
Doesn't matter if it's your financials, your DSO, your capital plan, your resource planning, your COGS, cost of goods sold, for those who don't know the acronym. What's your manufacturing capacity, your throughput, what's your TAM, SAM, your marketing numbers, leads via which source, web, social platforms, click-throughs, SEOs. What's your sales plan? What's your targets? How many leads do you have? How many you turn into prospects? How many get into your pipeline? How many are forecasted to close? If you know your numbers, you can make better decisions around your business.
Wow. And this from a sales guy, right?
Yes.
From somebody who spent his career in sales. Well, you're like, a parfait, lots of layers to you, Joe. That's exciting. But you're absolutely right. Business owners got to know his numbers. I was talking with a business owner the other day who told me that one of his product lines, it's his best product line because it delivers 138% margin. And I said, well, that's a magic trick that I know a lot of people would love to understand.
Yeah.
138% margin on something. But anyway, it's so important to understand your numbers because it'll help you drive your business. And of course, Dave Casey is doing a session on understanding your KPIs, which I think is going to also be a super exciting topic.
Yeah, I'm probably going to sneak into that. So.
There you go. Good. All right. So a bonus question for you. We always have to ask a bonus question for folks who come onto our podcast. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give? I'm so excited to hear this. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Well, it's hard to remember back to 18. So, I had a full head of hair. Wow. Learn everything you can about anything that interests you. I think we've lost a little intellectual curiosity in today's world. And I probably didn't have as much of it as I should have at 18. And, as a follow-up to that, as you're learning those things, don't be afraid to take a risk. All right. No risk, no reward.
I love that. Those are two great pieces of advice. Really, maybe even three, right? So I'm going to have to unpack this later. I'm not sure. So how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way is anybody can email me, Joe, at 360consultingdfw.com. And I'm on my email every single day. I'll easily get back to you.
Awesome. Hey, thank you for coming on twice in a row here, once with Chris and now once on your own. Thank you for being our guest today and telling us about what you're doing at the upcoming Business Transition Summit.
Absolutely. We always have fun, especially sharing business ideas because we geek out on this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, clearly. So you can find Joe English at 360consultingdfw.com or on LinkedIn. And of course, you can always reach out to me and I will be happy to make a warm introduction to my good friend, Joe English. This is the Maximize Business Value podcast, where we give practical advice to business owners who want to build long-term sustainable value in your business. Be sure to tune in each week and subscribe to our channel so that you'll never miss another episode. Until next time, I'm Tom Bronson, reminding you to register for the Business Transition Summit today at businesstransitionssummit.com so you can learn how to maximize business value.
Thank you for tuning into the Maximize Business Value podcast with Tom Bronson. This podcast is brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners to maximize business value so they can transition on their terms. Learn more on how to build long-term sustainable business value and get free value-building tools by visiting our website, www.masterypartners.com. That's master with a Y, masterypartners.com. Check it out.
That was perfect. I wouldn't make any changes on that.